Katie.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm good. This is so different.
Weird, right?
I know.
Okay, let's start by introducing you. So, this is Katie Denton. She is one of my childhood besties, really a big just part of my life. I think you've been in my life longer than you've been out of it, right?
That's true. Factual. Yeah.
Yeah, you're probably one of the closest witnesses to my life, and same for like me witnessing everything that goes on in Katie world.
Oh, Katie World, I love that.
So I'm
Totally.
really excited to get to go down the list of what makes Katie Katie.
Yes.
So the things that we started off with when I asked you to do your list, you had like 20 of them. You literally
Legit.
you came to the table with like, well, because of this, I'm also
I'm a
these.
bait. Look, that was
Uh,
the list.
yes, and that is, I love that. That's a testament to that you are so many different things. But when we narrowed it down, we came to you being a storyteller,
Yes.
a world traveler, a maternal advocate, a self-taught entrepreneur, a single mother,
A mother. I
and
am a
all the
mother.
other things.
I am your mother.
You're not my mother,
I
girl.
am not your mother, but I am a
Um,
mother.
but she is a mother. And as I was thinking of all of this, and because I am someone who got has seen you kind of develop into all these things.
Yes.
I think the root of it and where it all this whole journey for you started was becoming a mother. And then it kind of
Yeah.
rolled into all these other things, right?
It definitely blossomed, I would say 100%. Like, I always think to myself prior, I don't think that I would be doing what I do now if I wasn't a mom. I would, of course, be doing something incredible, probably, but Zoe definitely changed my life in that for sure.
Oh, little
I
Miss
know.
Zober.
I know.
So tell us about that because you became a mom at a very young age.
Yes.
Well, you weren't a teenage mother, but it's still a
No.
very young age to be taking that step. So, can you just tell us a little bit about what that experience was? Since I think you, of all people, had quite the experience
I
and journey
did.
to getting that baby.
So it's funny because I definitely felt like out of my whole friend group, which I was friends with everybody, so I had friends from every kind of circle there was, but I always felt like I was the one who would have a kid way later on in life. And that was not the case. I was the first one to have a baby in the friend group. So while everybody else was out doing their thing, I'm
Mhm.
prepping to be a mom, and I got pregnant at 20 and then had her at 21. So that was really, really wild. I definitely feel that with my pregnancy alone, that kind of also gears later on when we talk about career wise, why I've gone down the path that I
Mhm.
have. Um, but yeah, being a single mom and being a mom is one of the more impressive things that I have about me that I love. But it wasn't until I became that single mom when Zoe was around like a year and a half that really changed just the way and the outlook that I am. I
Mhm.
definitely feel like I had that confidence prior, but like once I had to learn how to hustle with everything to make things survive, because it was just me and her.
Yeah.
My whole life changed in that way, and I owe it to her because I just want her to feel no matter what stage in life she's in and no matter where she goes in her future, that if you just believe in it, then it'll happen. And I think that's exactly what happened. Like almost she'll be 9 this September, almost 9 years later. And I can wholeheartedly say, like, her just looking at me is 100% why I'm so passionate in everything that I do.
Yeah, absolutely. I know, I remember you mentioned before that you had to figure out what you were going to do as far as like being a hustler, providing for you and for Zoe.
Yeah.
And at this point, you were already dabbling into photography,
Yeah.
but it was more of a fun, creative outlet for you. It wasn't really, I think, your career path yet. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um,
So I kind of in that sense of, sorry, I butt in, but
Oh, go for it.
I, whenever I had become pregnant with how crazy it was with my surgeries and stuff, that's when we moved to Houston and I had to quit my job. So I was basically in the mindset of just being a stay-at-home mom. I didn't have to work, but having a single mom, like mom raise me was like, she
Mhm.
always told me, you can't depend on somebody else. And that was the hard part because I
Yeah.
was this stay-at-home mom. And after that is what kind of ventured out into the craziness.
Yeah. And so aside from you having to find a career and how to provide for you and your kid, you also were recovering from what was a traumatic pregnancy, right? Like you were dealing with some major health issues. Can you just shine some light so that the listeners can get to know why? Because I think this really falls into like your maternal advocacy, and I think where it kind of that first seed got planted.
I'm laughing now because all I can think about is the umbrella, which hopefully later on we can tell that story.
Go.
But you can attest to this that like if it's something wild's gonna happen medically, it's probably gonna
Hmm.
happen to me. That's just how my life is. If something's gonna happen, it's gonna happen to me. But yeah, so I was pregnant, and I don't know if you even know this story about us going to New York. Do you remember me telling you about like what happened when we were in New York when I was pregnant?
I know that you got engaged in New York.
Right, right. So during that whole trip, I kind of just felt like, of course, that was my first pregnancy, only pregnancy right now. And when we were there, I just felt every time I would eat, something was off. Like I did not feel right. But, not ever being pregnant prior, I just blew it off and was like, oh, this is what motherhood is. This is what pregnancy is.
Yeah.
I'm just being Delulu right now, whatever. But it wasn't until we came back like a week later that I started having the same problems back home. And the straw that was just picked and the final thing before he went to the hospital was we were at this yummy Mexican restaurant and I bit into a chip and I passed out and threw up. And that is when everybody was like, okay, enough of this. We're going to the hospital, figure it out. I was in the hospital for a week. I went to the best hospitals, and three different GI doctors could not figure out what was wrong with me. It was like an awful pain to my side. I couldn't eat. I was on every kind of medication, pregnant. So I'm also freaked out because I'm on Demerol, morphine, Norco at the early stages of my pregnancy. And, all the things going through your mind like, is this going to affect my baby? Is this going to affect me? Like, are we going to survive? Like, how is this going to happen? And I think the worst part about it is I left the hospital not knowing what was wrong with me. They
Hmm.
discharged me after a week. They told me nothing was wrong, that three of their top doctors in Houston had tried to figure me out and nothing could happen. But if it happened again, to come back. And so we go home an hour away. I bite into some fried chicken and it happens again. And the crazy part is that the hospital, I don't want to really name names right now, but the hospital that I did go to, they told me the minute it happens, come back, which I felt like that was great. But they never called my OB's hospital to tell them what was happening. And that was the problem, was my OB didn't even know what was going on. So immediately we called the nurse to the hospital I was supposed to go to,
Hmm.
that originally that was where everything should have happened at. And they had no idea. They were like, what? Come right now. So they were like, it doesn't matter what time it is. We went there. They got me in. I think it was like around 7 o'clock in the morning. And I remember the surgeon walked in who saved my life. And he was like, I am going to go retrieve your records. They will not send them to me. I had to sign these forms. He's like, I'm going to study everything that's happened the week prior and figure this out. At that time in my pregnancy, I was at 20 weeks, and he specifically told me, I don't want to put you under the knife. I want to find every way we can to not put you at risk and the baby at risk. But I need to study you and I need to do this quick because at 21 weeks, I will not have surgery unless it is absolutely necessary. And this is kind of your crunch in between to figure out. what we can do to help you. So he did. He canceled all of his surgeries that day. His name was Dr. Duffy. He was incredible. Canceled all of his surgeries that day and studied my papers. Came like clockwork the next day. He goes, "It's your gallbladder." I know it is. It has to be. How did these other doctors miss this? And the hardest part about when you're pregnant, many people don't know it until you're pregnant. All these things that happen. Um, he basically said that he only had done these surgeries like several times over the last 20 or so years with a pregnant mom, but he just
Mhm.
knew deep down with all the things that they did do scan wise at the other doctor's hospital that that was it. And he made me make the decision. He was like,
Mhm.
"You can go have surgery tomorrow. I'm going to go to sleep and I will roll you in at 7 p.m. tomorrow and we're going to have that surgery. Or you can stay in this hospital. I'm not quite sure if you're going to make it to even 23 weeks, which at that point, who's to say the baby at that time would even survive?
Yeah.
And I was risking the fact of, we didn't know at the time that it was even a girl. But if me or her would survive without this surgery. And so I made everybody leave, which again, everybody else doesn't know this if they're not my friend or my family, but like I need people around me. I thrive off that energy. And this, I had to like let everybody out, stayed all night by myself. And I was
Mhm.
like, I can't sit in this hospital bed one more day without feeding my body. I am literally just living off IV fluids and medication, and that's not good for me or the baby.
Mhm.
Made the decision, did the surgery. It was painful. They took her out, they put her back in, took my gallbladder out, there for another week. That was it. Did my whole pregnancy till 41 weeks, still didn't think she was ready. Had her at 41 weeks, 2 days. Um, and so 100%, that's a lot of like in my degree plan of graduate school, why I really want to be a maternal advocate because there's a lot out there that women don't know. And a lot too, I'm sure we'll get deeper into it for marginalized communities. And I think if other people were just educated on that, simple
Mhm.
things, it wouldn't be so scary and it wouldn't be so frustrating in our system to go have a baby. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was pretty chaotic.
Well, and before we get into why you're studying and going to school for this,
Yeah,
you started off by being a photographer
right.
and you specialize specifically in couples, maternity, and you do birth
Yes.
photos.
Yes,
And
which
I
is
think
incredible.
that kind of has also been a big point for you to learn about what else happens because you've gotten to witness so many different births, so you've only given birth once, but you've
Oh
been
yeah.
there for so many.
Yeah.
So can you tell us like what made you even go down that route? Because I don't think there's a lot of photographers that do that.
Yeah, the birth industry is an incredible one, but it is very small in comparison to like a wedding photographer or family
Mhm.
photographer. There's obviously way more of photographers in that genre than there is birth, but wholeheartedly, my pregnancy and everything that went through it, I just kind of felt like at that point, I knew that every birth is unique. And when I became pregnant, that was not I thought, I don't know what it was. I just thought you got pregnant and that was it. Like there was no craziness. And so when I did have Zoe and I did start doing photography, um, it really gravitated towards that family and motherhood side because I could relate to it. And I remember doing my first birth, it was at a birthing center. And the minute I was like in that atmosphere, I just felt at peace. It's kind of a healing journey for my traumatic birth and to
Mhm.
also help be there for other parents who need that. And so I feel like not only am I like telling their story, like I'm the fly on the wall taking the picture, but I also get to relate to them in so many
Mhm.
different ways that it helps everybody's healing journey. And that's so important. The way you make and create a baby is also how you deliver a baby, the passion in it, the help, the need, the want. And I think that it's wild and cool at the same time because me, myself, and I,
Mhm.
if there's blood on me or I pass out, I am the worst. You've heard me on the phone do this. But when I'm in a birth space, I don't know what strength comes upon me. I am totally fine with watching babies getting delivered. Being in that space, it heals me, it makes me happy, and I just love being there for other parents. It's also a very rewarding experience that I get to be in a room when a baby is earthside. And other friends and family might not even be there, but I get to document this for them to also show what they were doing while they were giving birth, while they were in the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so funny you said that because I was just telling someone at work earlier this week that I have a friend who's a wimp when it comes to blood, yet she witnesses births all the time, and
Yeah.
somehow that's fine. But God forbid you get a paper cut.
And by whatever, it is like the end. Gosh, weren't you on the phone with me the other day when I don't know if I scratched a bite and Zoe was with me and do you remember that?
Yeah,
And
it
I was
was a
like bleeding,
mosquito
about to pass
bite.
out.
You were screaming. You're like, Mom, come
Yeah.
help.
Me.
Well, while you've been able to like sit in these rooms and witness all these births happen, you decided to go back to college.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
So tell, what is your major?
I am a women and gender studies major. So I'm getting my BS in that. And it actually was something that I didn't even know existed until I transferred back in. So I go to A&M, Gig'em, and that is actually a kind of thing that A&M that's not really recognized as much or noticeable, especially in the type of school. It's a very big ag school and it's
Mhm.
not focused around women and gender studies, but forever thankful that they have that in place. And so I had the coolest advisor. She's not my advisor anymore. I have another cool one now named Tyra. Shout out Tyra. But Kaylee was the one who said, "What do you do? Like, what do you do for work? Like, you're a mom. I know you work. What is it that you do?" And I told her everything. And she's like, "I think women and gender studies. This just makes sense." And I was like, "Okay, well, tell me more."
Mhm.
And she mentioned how it was just the power of race, gender, class, all mixed together, and how we shape our societies and people around us. And I'm like, oh, I work with so many different people, like diverse, everything, just all around. This would be perfect. And
Mhm.
it was probably the best decision because I was just transferring in with HR just to say I finished, just to finish my degree, get the credits, which again, I transferred in with 90 credits and only 30 went through. So I had to start all over again. And I'm glad that it was with women and gender studies because it wholly represents what I do on the daily with people, with my photography, with just everything. So it's a blessing in disguise for
And
sure.
that's kind of pushed you into, I think, what's such a powerful passion of yours
Yeah.
in maternal advocacy
Yeah.
specifically. Can you tell us why? Like, what it was there a specific class that kind of pushed that along for you, or when did you realize that maternal advocacy specifically was such an important part for you?
Yeah, I've had a lot of incredible professors and all the classes I've actually taken have been so helpful in so many ways. But I think it was closer into the last 2 years, not the first year, but the last 2 years where I was really diving into actually reaching out to my professors, getting to know them, getting to know the articles they published, those types of things. And I just thought to myself, oh my goodness, like they're basing a lot of this off of their intelligence and experience. And I have this experience that has not been shared. And I think that it should be shared because that's what I want to bring to higher education. There's not many maternal classes at all you can take in college. I did take a representations of motherhood class. That was really, really awesome. And I think that also kind of made me think, okay, there needs to be more of this. Because if you Google it, there's not really classes anywhere you can take this on a college campus. Whether you're a mother or not, I think it's just to hear these different stories. And yeah, the representations of motherhood was like, okay, this needs to be more widely known. This needs to
Mhm.
be I have this story to tell and I need to tell it. How can I do it? And so last semester, it's almost been a whole year, but one of my previous, which we spoke about this, one of my previous professors before, she had reached out to a few of us and, said, "Hey, if you guys want to be my research assistant, let's do
Mhm.
this." And we were in Italy when I said, I am so upset that I did not do that. And you were the one to like kind of manifest it for me. Like, don't not keep it in your future. Like, yeah, it wasn't the right timing then, but who knows? Like, she may need you another time. You may be useful elsewhere. Like, you just don't know. And so when we got back from that trip in Italy last year, I reached out to her and I was like, hey, I thought about it. If there's any way that this can be part time and, you know, online, because I go to school full time. I drive twice a week to College Station. I'm a mommy. I have a dress business. I have a photography business. Can this be doable? I was so thankful. She was like, yes, let's do that. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's been magical ever since. And we do a lot of really cool stuff, but also too, it's where I found my love of writing again. And last semester, or no, the previous semester, I won best undergraduate essay. And I think not that I needed to like win something to validate that, but I think it really lit a fire in my butt. Like
It
I
did.
am a great writer and I should own that without having any kind of, reward for it. But that really, I just was like, okay, this makes sense. Let's go for it. And that's when
Yeah.
I started looking into graduate schools. It wasn't until the last year that I decided like I need to go get my PhD, teach it a higher education so that I can be that maternal advocate.
I love that.
Yeah.
You, okay, you also mentioned how you're an entrepreneur, but before we even get into that part, what is the biggest thing you've learned since starting your women and gender studies? Because I think it's also been such an eye opener for you on
Yeah.
just how people are in the world and how they present themselves. So what's something that I what was the biggest takeaway for you so far in your
There's
classes?
so many. It's so hard to like break it down into pieces
Or
and
was there
just
something that
pick
was the
one.
most shocking? Like, is there just
Yeah,
something?
the intersex.
Mhm.
That is something that I am every time I get the chance to Five Sex Revisited by Anne Foster Sterling, like you got to go read it because growing up in a small town, we were definitely programmed, or I feel, I'll speak for myself on this. I feel that we were programmed in a way of a certain mindset of how people are, who they are, how they represent themselves.
Mhm.
And not saying that everywhere is like that, but I think what we were taught was based off of who was teaching us. And that goes for all the teachers that we were raised with. We had
Yeah.
incredible teachers, we had some bad teachers, we had all in between, but I think the mindset really goes on who is teaching and they get to pet what is engraved in your brain because
What we're learning. Yeah.
you're there most of the day, you're at home half the day. Like you're spending more time with your teachers than you really are at home a lot of the times.
Yeah.
And so growing up, to myself, I just thought there are two sexes, and there's not. Biologically, there is not. And I love to be very patient and kind when it comes to this because the minute I say there's not two sexes, everybody wants to bite my head off, call me a name because they think that I am siding with the left, and they don't want to hear me out. And I'm like, listen, just hear me out. This is real. This is biological. There are people that are born with the insides of a female and the outsides of a male, vice versa, and both. Like, this is something that is more common than people think. And
Hmm.
the fact that we are keeping it, gatekeeping that from the world, um, is pretty bad because whenever you're growing up and you're finding yourself and you're in your body, a lot of that too could be medically. If something's wrong and you don't
Hmm.
know, and you're having to fix certain things, if there's something that like you feel inside is not feeling right and you don't know your body, that's wild to me. So yeah, learning
Yeah.
about being, others being intersex and all those different things. I'm telling you that reading, if we can link that reading here, it is
We
incredible.
will. We'll add it to the
Yes, it
comment.
is. And it's maybe 3 to 5 pages long. It's a super
Oh,
easy
easy.
read, but it will change your mindset. And from those who completely wanted to bite my head off, they read it and were like, "Oh my gosh." Like there's actually genetically different people out there who this is something that
Mhm.
happens in their family and they just don't know that they're presenting as a female but have
Yeah.
XY chromosomes inside and have testes. And I'm serious. Like
Yeah.
it's a whole thing. And there is a girl that I follow on Instagram. What is her name? She was actually was she Miss America? Miss America, like MRS, like Mrs. America. And
Oh,
when she was doing her stuff, she came out and mentioned that she was intersex.
really?
Yeah, I'll have to send you her name and see because it's just
Yeah, because we can
incredible.
share that too.
Super big advocate. And she also she's 100% about knowing what's going on with your body and wishing that back then she would have had a choice to
Mhm.
understand because whenever they not to get sidetracked, but I remember watching like something that she posted and she said back when she was 15 she had the surgery. But when they explained to her the surgery, they mentioned that her testes were like ovaries. She didn't know that she was gonna, have to have all these different things happen. And if she would have had the choice, she would have kept them because she wouldn't have been on different pills and hormones for the rest of her life.
Yeah.
Because what was happening is they were transforming different things, and that's just what they did back then.
Yeah.
I'll find her name. Actually, let me do that right now because I feel like she's such a big advocate.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and I think also people, doctors, and everyone, they don't fully understand it, right? Like how that
yeah,
impacts just a person's being. And like you said, because a lot of the times for someone who is born intersex, the parents are choosing which sex to go with, male or female, and they do a surgery early on, and that's just kind of the sex the kid takes on, right?
right.
And then somewhere along the way, it's sometimes doesn't because it's not the right choice or ends up not having been the correct choice for that person. Because I think you and I talked about that specifically.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Oh, here she is. The first Miss America from Michigan is proud to be intersex. Her name is her name Jackie? Her name's Jackie.
Oh,
Let me see if I can.
yeah, send me her page.
Let me send it real quick. How funny that her name's Jackie. Miss Jackie Blankenship. Okay, sending to you right now. Share this profile. I'm sharing it with the podcast one.
Perf.
Yeah, I just really found about her and I think it's incredible. And she's really funny about it because she includes her husband in a lot of things. And she's like, "Would you have like not talked to me if I had balls?" Like it's just so funny. It's so funny. She's really, I think, a really cool source to look into that. But yeah, I would say that is a big, powerful thing that I had my mindset completely changed. And I, growing up in a small town, I just didn't know that.
Hmm.
I mean, people that we went to school could have been intersex and we had no idea because we didn't know that. So I think that was a really big important thing. Another really random thing too that's awesome is I think you've heard me talk about food justice.
Oh,
And I love food
let
justice.
her
And
go. Here she goes.
here she goes about, bringing awareness to lower income areas to have those, green spaces and farms and things like that that can provide good food to lower income areas because it's not really a thing. A lot of bad foods are given because it's cheaper to get. So it's another avenue to go down.
It's true.
Yeah.
How has your knowledge now affected or impacted the way you show up as a photographer and in your workspace?
I think that I am more mindful about my surroundings. And I think that also, too, religion plays a really big part. And like, I may not be a certain religion when it comes to like clients I work with, but kind of, understanding and appreciating it and valuing it and asking questions to be more involved has helped me grow in a more diverse way with my clientele and
Mhm.
not just have one specific person, but welcoming to all. Because you know, a lot of times what we see on Instagram, especially as an entrepreneur and a photographer, what people see in your feed is what they see. And if you don't have diversity on there, it's not going to be as welcoming to others. And so that has helped me a lot be more open to just different religions on weddings, different, even whenever births, like there's different, practices that different people from different cultures have that you may not do in your own culture, but to respect it and appreciate it and show up for what they're doing is all you really have to do. And there's
Mhm.
ways to go about it. Thinking before I speak is obviously something I've had to learn, but I've learned that whenever I speak up and I ask these questions, they are so happy that I'm asking them to understand better versus just
Mhm.
not not knowing anything that's going on.
Isn't that funny? I feel like even me getting to do the podcast and talking to people, a lot of the times it's really just getting to ask those questions, and people are excited to
Yeah.
teach you and like have you learn and understand them versus
Oh
in
yeah.
my mind, I'm like, am I being rude by asking these questions? Or
Yeah.
like, but you just don't know. So getting
Yeah.
to have those answers and yeah, just fully understand them, I think is really
100%.
important.
Yeah.
You
Totally.
also have a dress business. So tell us about how you are a self-taught entrepreneur because you started off with food photography,
Oh my goodness,
went into
yes.
photography, and then there's now this other business of r rental dresses. Where did all of this start? And how did you
Sometimes
teach
I'm afraid to
yourself?
ask, like, what's next? Like,
No,
what am I
literally.
gonna do next? Yeah, okay, with the dress rentals, that was pretty wild because I am like one of those people where if I want something to happen, I write it down, I make it happen. Most of the places I've written down, we've gone to Iceland, we've gone to Italy. I've written all those down. I make it a point to like put my goals down, short term and long term, make it happen. But I will say that when I became a single mom and I realized that I had to do something, I had to provide, and I was going to work as hard as I could, I needed to figure out what I needed to do. And at that time, when I had left and became a single mom, I had a camera already and I was doing it for fun at that time, but I was like, this is gonna be fun and it's gonna be a full-time thing now. And it wasn't until like, over a year later that I really found like, okay, if I love my work, I'm going to love what I do. If I
Hmm.
don't love my work, I'm not going to like what I do. So that took off, put all my passion into it. You know, then the pandemic was a woozy, but right before the pandemic, back in 2018, I had signed up for this travel dress, and it was so cool to me. You paid $50 and you got selected to keep a dress, a really cool dress that they had picked out for a month. And at the end of the year, there was a whole blog post on the 12 photographers that got to document it,
Hmm.
and they would just ship back to back. Well, I paid my money, but I didn't get chosen, and I got a little upset. And like I said, when I put my mind to something, I'm going to do it. And so I was like, you know what? I want to create something where no matter who you are, no matter what you look like, whatever your work looks like, I want to do my own travel dress. And that's what happened. I invested in a $1,500 dress. I was scared shitless because I knew my mom was going to do my taxes the next year and be like, what the hell did you do? Like, you just became a single mom. You should be saving this money. But in the back of my mind, I already had it programmed with numbers. If I could get this certain amount, to sign up, I would have the dress paid off for, and anything else after was passive. So I knew what I had to do. What I didn't know was all the things behind it, like getting a seamstress, how people take care of your things that aren't theirs. That was really difficult over that whole year of the travel dress. But at the end of it, I got to share a bunch of cool work. And the people that I had worked with during that
Mhm.
time, I still have a lot of journals where people would write in them. And that inspired me. And I remember one person came to me after and was like, "Are you going to do that again?" And in my mind, I'm like, "Oh God, I don't know if I can." And I just decided, let's just wait and see. Like, my mom's gonna do my taxes, whatever. Decided to do like one or two more, but then my mom did my taxes and she was like, wow, that was really smart. And again, not that I needed that validation, but it was nice to have that validation of, oh my God, my mom's not pissed that I just spent all that money, made it back, and then some. And so
Well, the fact that you were like, I was right. I did it.
yeah, and it doesn't always work like that. I mean, there's obviously really high highs and really low lows and challenges and good and bad, but I was like, I'm gonna make this work. This is what's gonna happen. And so then COVID hit and the world just sank. And a lot of people didn't want to be photographed. Or if they did, it was at a distance, which is really hard for me to connect because I'm like all up in everybody's business. Like I want to be there and present. And so I had this really cool thing of, oh my gosh, let's see if this even works.
Mhm.
Well, I did. I'd gotten like some money from an investment kind of situation. Um, I'll just say it, but my mom basically never asked for child support. And in her decree, which is really smart, she put that any like properties that my dad had sold, we would get a chunk of it. So that's what happened. I got a chunk of that and I invested it in a lot of dresses and was like, I'm going to make this happen. And I did. And here we are. That was 2018. It's 2025. And I consistently have over 100 dresses in a revolving rotation. So, yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's really freaking
And
cool.
to mention, during COVID, people were renting them like crazy. That's what I survived off of. We were all so scared as photographers to just be in an like exist because nobody wanted to be touched.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to be around us. And yeah, I made more doing my dresses in that year up to photography in 1 year during COVID. And I knew that moving forward, when photography was back to what it was, the main income I wanted to have was my dresses. And
Mm.
then to really hone in on what I wanted to photograph. And that's why now I get to photograph like the things I love versus just everything.
Yeah. So it kind of really gave you your passion for photography back in a sense
Yeah.
because now you're
Oh,
not
yeah.
having to take every session, you get to choose the
Yeah.
stories that you're trying to tell and what
Oh,
you are actually
totally.
passionate about, right? And all of that too sounds all lovely and fun, right? But you've had some downs as well. Tell we don't have to go into detail, but tell us what are some of like the hardest lessons you've learned while being an entrepreneur?
That less is more sometimes.
Mm.
I love to explain myself. I'm very passionate. I'm a yapper. I love to explain myself and why I'm doing something good or why I did something. And I think that sometimes less is more. I've learned that from my other friend, Lindsay, that you don't have to always explain yourself. And of all things, photography teaching me that. And I
Yeah.
feel the reason why is you're not just a photographer. Your camera's not doing the work. You're doing the work. You're also doing the behind the scenes. So you're doing all the contracts, the emails, the marketing, the social media. You're all these different things at once in photography. And I had to learn that less is more. I don't always have to have everything posted on a certain time. I
Mm.
don't always have to respond immediately, which it took me a while to have that balance of you can have business hours, Katie. Like you do not have to respond immediately because you are a person. You do have a life. And that's what it's taught me is that I'm not a robot. I don't have to answer to everybody immediately. And I should save that for the people I care about. I
Mm.
care about my clients, but more so in the sense of my family and friends. They deserve to have that exclusive to them and then have Katie full force during business hours.
Yeah. Yeah, because it seems like originally you were very much like my life is my work and my work is my life.
Yeah.
And you've gotten at this point, I think you've gotten it really well to you where there's a little bit of separation at least, and you can
Yeah,
walk away from one without feeling like you're having to constantly be on for the other.
I'm still working on that.
Yeah.
It's a work in progress because I'm such a big like people person and giver and pleaser, and I want to work with everybody, and I just want it to be a good thing. But I do feel like I have more balance than I ever have, which is so wild to me with all the different avenues that I have going on in my life. But being so, ADHD, I feel like I just thrive off of all that because my brain's constantly going with ideas and yeah.
Do
So
you think that you having ADHD is like your superpower? Because
I guess you could say that.
I've
Yeah,
asked you so many
totally.
times, like, how do you do everything that you do?
Everybody asks me that, how do you, and it's one of those things where it's like I just do it. Like I don't know how to explain into words, which is a lot of me sometimes. Um, but I think that I'm using it as an advantage. I could definitely see it being a disadvantage for some if not knowing how to navigate around it. But I think and all the things that I do, I think as of today, I can definitely say I found some good balance in between it all, and I'm
Mhm.
thriving from it. And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, no, I think it could be a superpower for me. I never even actually thought about that.
I was just thinking about it as you were talking about it, it's like I know I've asked you that before because
Yeah.
I do see everything that you do and when things get a little heavy on my plate, I'm like, Katie does a million of these things at once and I can't even juggle three.
Yeah, it's
With that,
crazy.
so you also chose storytelling as one of your labels. Can you tell me more about that? Because
Don't make me cry. I'm hormonal. I might start crying because of this, but go ahead.
I don't even know how this is triggering. Um, okay.
Are you crying?
No, I'm so lost as to what happened. Okay, so what about storytelling makes you emotional, I guess? Let's start there.
Why do I feel like you're gonna start crying?
You're crying. We're
I know, I'm trying to like push it onto you. Okay, so this all comes down to a lot of heart in me. And one of the biggest things I'm passionate about is my couples.
Mhm.
I love couple sessions, and I love that I've been able to grow with a lot of adults into their whole thing of being together, marriage, pregnancy, into rekindling their love. I've seen it all and I love it. I love being able to grow with my couples because that's where it starts. It's that partnership.
Mhm.
And I think the reason why I get emotional about it, because I'm a very emotional person, is because I don't have that partner.
Mm.
And I love putting my energy into sharing what others have because I want them to embrace it. I want them to love so hard and to see that in what I share with them. A lot of people think that, okay, I show up with my camera and it just works magic. And that's just not true. I feel sometimes I'm a magician, but that's not reality. The reality of it is you're going to show up and you're going to be with your person and I'm going to document you guys. I'm going to guide you. I'm going to
Mhm.
be there. I'll be your support girl. I'll tell you what to do sometimes, but really what unleashes is the connection that those two people have.
Mhm.
And I love when I can document two people that are truly connected because it makes it show in my work. And
Mhm.
that's why I get so emotional about it, is because I put a lot of energy into that couple part because I don't have that love. And I'd love to
Yeah.
have it. But I put a lot of it in there because I want people to embrace it when they have it, hold on to it. It's not always something that I feel people do because
Mhm.
maybe just they're used to being in a relationship. I'm not.
It's
So,
almost like you get to be a narrator in their story in a sense
yeah,
because
yeah.
they're living it, you're documenting it, and
I'm
then
seeing I'm seeing what they're feeling.
yeah.
And when this is something that also too, like the people around us are the people that see us most. We don't even see our expressions and our face. We don't really look at ourselves 24 hours a day. Everybody else does. So to
Mhm.
see two people connecting and like show them what they're showing everybody else is just really awesome. And
Yeah.
I don't want people to forget it. No matter what their story is tomorrow or 10 years from now, that's still a memory that's had. And I want to be able to keep that for them, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I get so emotional about it because I love being able to document couples because I want that. I want
Yeah.
passion. And
It's
so,
always so funny because you say that, and I'm thinking of the time that you came to visit, and we were sitting at Columbus Circle, and there was that couple.
oh
So we're sitting eating some candy. Zoe and I wanted
yeah.
candy,
Yeah.
and we're sitting at this fountain, and there's these, we don't know if they were a couple or not, but there was a man and a woman, older,
There was a situation.
and something was happening, and
Yeah.
it's like midnight, right? It's like
Gosh,
late
it
at
was so
night.
late. It was so late. It was
And
late.
we sat there and you came up with just this elaborate love story of
Yeah.
what was happening. And Zoe and I are sitting back like, that's not what we see. I went down a totally different route. I made it a horror film and you made it a love
This love
story.
story. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I sometimes think, that goes along with my writing too, that like I think that I'm just able to visually tell a story as well with my work, just by seeing something and speaking and also incorporate it into my photography. I've just
Yeah.
always been that envisioning something in my mind that, yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. It
I
is.
still have that video. I think I posted on Instagram.
Aw. Um, okay. And then last one on here, but I know it's obviously not least and not even the last of your labels. This is just when I
Yeah.
made you condense it into five. Um,
I'm
world,
condensed milk. I'm just kidding.
we brought it down and you said world traveler.
Yes. Love
When
that.
did you, I guess, first start traveling and what got you so interested in it? Because
Oh my
it
goodness.
didn't start early on.
No, it didn't. I feel like when we traveled, like my family, as me and my brother were younger, we did it by car and we were only stateside. I think we only did southern states. So like Florida and Georgia and all those things. So I remember when I was 16 and I was obsessed with Gossip Girl, and I ended up being able to fly to New York City, and I fell in love. I just was like, oh my goodness, this is my dream. I want to live here. This is just incredible. And so when I turned 18, I just kind of made it a mission to, if there was a place that I wanted to go to, again, I'd write it down and I'd go. And I think that's where it just kind of took off. And so I've gotten to go to so many places. I use that now with my photography. I mean, I'm currently in Philly, not in Texas. So I'm going everywhere, anywhere. When people book me, I'm like, where do you want me? Like, take me where you want me.
Yeah.
And so I think me not being able, and I'm not saying not being able, us not just being huge travelers as kids,
Hmm.
I just really had an itch to do it. And a lot of it alone, I didn't have people going with me until I started really traveling international. And then I made my bestie, you, come with me. And so I think that's another thing to highlight is like, we are, it's like yin and yang, right? Like,
Hmm.
I am so extra and you are just so calm that when we travel, it just works. I think that if there was another one of me, it would just be a disaster. So we've learned a lot over the years that we just travel really well. And yeah, gone to Iceland, Italy, just
Oh, Italy.
stateside, lots of just really cool places to adventure and create for others and myself too.
Yeah, I think we definitely learned a lot from each other when we traveled. Like, I think that was the true
Yeah.
testament to our friendship. And
Yeah.
it's funny too, because I said this not too long ago.
Oh, we went to London. What
We went to
about
London. Oh my God, when I almost killed you
London? Oh, on the way back.
on the
Yeah.
way back. Yeah. I was thinking about this. I think you might be the closest thing I have to a sister
Yeah.
because I can want to wring your neck out, but I know that like I'm still gonna call you 5 minutes later and want to tell you about some random thing that happened.
Yeah.
And I do that with my brothers too. It's just like the fact that I'm that comfortable with you. It's like I'm sure that's what it would be like if I had a sister.
Right. Absolutely. No, and I think too, I think we've actually over the years have even grown in that on how to communicate. Because like even as teenagers, we all communicate differently. And then we get older and oh my gosh, I'm 30. And I think we've gotten really good about, especially you with your boundaries, um, on the things that like stress us out and don't stress us out. Things that make us happy don't make us happy, but we're able to communicate that
Hmm.
and like put boundaries up so that we're aware of things.
Yeah.
I think we've grown a lot in that area because I know when I need to step it up a little bit
Yeah.
and maybe apologize.
Well, and how beautiful is that?
Yeah.
That we've
Or
been able to
congratulate.
like,
You know, I mean, there's
yeah.
it's not just sad, it's good too. But like I think a lot of, yeah, you're like a sister to me. I always say you're my soul sister. And I think we're able to do that as adults, which is such a beautiful thing because
Mhm.
I friendships can be forever or they can be temporary and we've kept that forever and I love that.
Yeah. And
I love
we've
that.
been through a lot. Like we've seen each other go through a lot
Yeah. Oh
through
yeah.
those friends, through like the ups and downs
The
of
waves of it.
our
Yeah.
own lives and still being able to be friends through all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do think boundaries have been like the biggest thing we've learned to
Oh yeah.
establish with each other.
Yeah.
Um, because if for anyone that doesn't know us, Katie and I will do just about anything together. Well, we hit all of your labels that we were going to hit today. I do want to ask, as we went through the conversation, a lot of them kind of, if you noticed, bled into each other. We talked
Yeah.
about motherhood, even though we started with it, it kind of came in
Yeah.
and out. You being a photographer came in and out. So you're obviously all these things at once. So I'm gonna let you do this. As someone who's a storyteller, what do you want people's takeaway to be from listening to this?
You know, truly is that if you want to do something, just do it. You know, there's never a right time. I know we think there is, and maybe
Mhm.
financially there is, but I think when you just put your heart into it and you do something, so many cool things can come from it. And even the challenges that will come across will make you really appreciate what's later on going to happen. Um, that's probably one of the biggest things because I am on my tattoo is all we have is now. And I try to live by that every single day because we're not guaranteed tomorrow.
Mm,
So all we have is now. If you have something that you want to do, go do it. It doesn't always have to be um, financially driven,
yeah,
but there's a lot of things that we can do and prepare ourselves for and do it just by showing up and doing it. So yeah.
I love that.
And that you're a boss.